Every Experience Builder listener knows how important social media is for our businesses. LinkedIn, I think it is the gold standard of business social media portals.
If you're in some sort of leadership or sales role where you should be having conversations regularly, but even if you're just trying to advance your career, it's valuable to create content.
You're either a creator or a consumer, and most of us are both. But if you're not, you should try at least to be some of the other.
I think too often we think about value being something that is specific that you can offer someone. But I think value can come in the form of connections, of people feeling understood. And so it doesn't have to be something groundbreaking. It just has to be
strong companies, lasting partnerships, powerful events. Welcome to the Experience Builders podcast.
Chris, good to see you, man.
Great.
You're dry.
Yes, dry. We usually we're talking about some personal thing I went through this summer, but I think it's the entire Southeast, if not the East Coast, that got bitten by, in some way, shape, or form, by Hurricane Helene. We obviously were no different in Florida, but I think I mentioned to you, I missed one of my favorite industry charities, which is the Randy Smith Memorial Golf Classic, raises money for trade show families that are experiencing hardship at risk. But about half the people weren't able to make it in because of the weather and the travel.
Wow.
And anyway, but I'm talking to friends in Georgia, those that got creamed, and it's up in the Carolinas. And we were just talking, I think a lot of the Carolinas got hit harder than Florida even did, which is insane. And further up the coast too. So we fared very, very well. My family and I loved all the well wishes and the check-ins, but hate what so many have gone through, and prayerful for those that are still in recovery on that. So,
absolutely.
But, came back with a renewed gratitude and still in the throes of the fall season. We're going to do something a little different this week, Khalil. Yeah. You know what? So we're going to flip the script, and I'm going to be the interviewer, and you, my friend, is usually the grown-up and the science monitor for whatever experiment we have going. We're going to pick your brain because, every Experience Builder listener knows how important social media is for our businesses. It's how we keep in touch with our customers. We strengthen relationships. We see and celebrate their successes. We promote our own events and successes and celebrate employees. Some of our industry peers are looking for work on LinkedIn. And anyway, it's used for so many things. But really I think it is the gold standard of business social media portals. And yet, would you agree, now that they are at over 1 billion members worldwide, 135 million users a day on LinkedIn, it's 200 million members just in the US alone, about another 227 million in Europe, 109 million in India. Those are the big leaders of the LinkedIn world. But I'm seeing a morphing and a sort of a blending, Khalil, of the messaging that's out there. I'm seeing a blend of personal storytelling with traditional business posting. For example, in my world, look at the picture of this great exhibit my company built that just was shown at the NAFEM Safety Show. Look at, here's the new chief marketing officer we hired at this company. I think there was more predictable things that we've always seen on business portals. And now subjects are more softer issues: personal health and wellness, stress management. There are trips abroad. There's as many vacation pictures as there is pictures of the business purpose you went for. So I wanted to talk to one of the guys I admire most, who coaches people on marketing their company and building their startups. What is what's appropriate now in LinkedIn? What's the best, most effective way? Do I need to update and upgrade my thinking on what LinkedIn is used for?
Well, especially this time of year, you want to start with something related to the election and just air out all of your grievances towards the political party you don't support and how much better you are.
I've seen a lot of those, and I literally have, one individual I know who's I guess he's kind of known in the industry. He is just riding that off the rails, and I'm like, you got to be losing half your customers, right? I don't care which side you're picking, and I'm not even going to say which side he's picking, but is that a thing? I mean, is that
but you could be making half your customers really want to buy from you. I don't know. Well, I'm sure there's some method to the madness. No, please don't do that. That's definitely not what you want to do. I think at the end of the day, on any social platform, not just LinkedIn, you're either a creator or you're a consumer. And ideally, you can be a little bit of both, because I think there's value in consumption to a degree. But there's too many people that are probably listening to this that do get on LinkedIn fairly often, or maybe it's Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is. And they primarily just consume. And take a step back from what you're missing out on. What you are doing is you are just sitting in the shadows, not joining conversations, and you're missing out on a big opportunity. But more so, you're developing a mindset of just consumption. And when you're only consuming, you find yourself in a habit of consuming, and then you're falling behind the people that are out there creating and that are posting content and are getting reps in and getting better. And just like maybe someone who hasn't gone to the gym in a long time and they see someone who looks fit, they get self-conscious and then they don't feel like going to the gym because they don't fit in. Same thing on these social platforms. You're consuming so much and you're not creating anything. And then you see these people that have been creating steadily and regularly over time, and they're getting really good at it and developing an audience, but you're not. And so then you don't want to.
Are you encouraging, Khalil, that everybody should be both a consumer and a creator?
I think ideally, in an ideal, everyone's
you're a business professional, I should say.
You're a business professional. You've in general, you are, especially if you're in some sort of leadership or sales role where you should be having conversations regularly. But even if you're just trying to advance your career, it's valuable to create content. I mean, how much more valuable is it, Chris? Let's say you're going to hire a new project manager and you've got 5 applicants. All 5 have resumes, but one of them has been posted to LinkedIn for the last 2 years on how to manage projects efficiently. And they've got videos, they've got posts, they've got engagement on there. They're sharing posts about project management. They're commenting and adding value to other people's posts. Which candidate are you more excited about? You're excited about the one that's posting, right? Because you're getting an insight into how they think and you see how they can add value to your culture and to the services that you offer your clients, right? So there's value in sharing because it's essentially the new resume, if you will. It's how instead of having a portfolio of work, you have your social accounts where people can actually engage and see what you're saying and how you think and the way that you approach problems.
So LinkedIn, that's an interesting point, is not just a place to connect with customers or to showcase your work. You're saying it's a tool in your reputation development plan, right? That creates visual evidence. And by the way, I'm assuming this doesn't have to just be video like this. This could be written interactions or blogging or a white paper you're sharing that sort of is a peek into what, your mind or how you think. Or am I right? Is that what you're saying?
It's a really good point. So if we start with the understanding that there are creators and there's consumers, ideally you're a creator first and foremost because you're adding value. You should be consuming so that you see what's out there, so that you can be inspired, so that you can engage with other people's creation and the content that they're making and add value to it, leave your own comments, give them feedback, whatever it is. But if you are a creator, what you're doing is you're creating content. So what do you create content about? And so you just mentioned a couple things. You mentioned videos, you mentioned white papers, there's case studies out there. There's all sorts of formats and mediums of content, right? And you should have a variety of these. But the important thing that you want to do is that you want to optimize the content for the channel, right? For example, if I went into a sales pitch with you and I said, hey, let me show you this video on my phone. Let's watch this together. That's really not a great format for the channel that we're in. We're face to face. I should be able to have a good conversation with you.
Yeah.
You don't want to sit here and stare at my tiny screen while the sun's got a glare on it. What video are we watching? Like, why can't you just talk to me about it, right? You'd be frustrated about that.
Yeah.
The same thing that happens on LinkedIn when it's, I've got this YouTube video and here's a link to it. Well, I'm on LinkedIn. Just if it would autoplay when I was scrolling through the feed, that would be much better, right? And so even though you have this great white paper that's, 2,000, 3,000 words, whatever it is that the best format for the channel of LinkedIn? I mean, maybe if you wrote it as an article and people decided to deliberately click on it, but what about taking that white paper and condensing it down into a 500-word post? What about doing a little bit of a video talking about how you made the white paper and why you made the white paper and why this person was, or this business that you worked with was a great case study for this white paper, right? So you need to make sure that you optimize the medium for the channel.
I like that.
It's true for LinkedIn, that's to any channel you're on, just like the face-to-face, just like for what's on our website. And that's another good point. Like on your like we talked about video.
Yeah.
Too many times people overthink the production of a video, right? Like we have decent production value on this podcast, but it's not like state of the art. We're not in a studio and got nice cameras and all this stuff. Now, if the video is going to live on the homepage of our website and it's going to be there for the next couple of years and people are that's the first interaction they're going to have with our company. Yeah. We probably need to spend quite a bit of time, scripting the video, having really good production and just investing time and money into that video. This video's shelf life is going to have a decent shelf life, but what's important is the message, not necessarily the production. The same thing's true.
You and I, we spoke about this when we started this a couple of years ago, what we wanted it to be. I have no doubt that your production team, I know your production team, has the ability to sexy up, sizzle up, light up, hard, fast cutaways. We could do any of the stuff, but we said it's really the conversations and the discussions we think are going to be the real value. I know when you do in the editing room, when there's shorts and clips, there's captions and there's, I'll tell you what, if I'm sure the thousands of you that watch, right? You tune in and you see the first 30 or 45 seconds of an Experience Builder episode is really well edited. It's edited. That's why I think there's a lot of sort of obvious production value there. And it's the right sound bites. It's 3 or 4 cutaways. It's put together well, and it gives you a flavor of what the whole episode's about. And then it goes into a high energy, 20-second intro, which has some trade show cities and all that stuff. As I've shared with you, I said, we should really make that a clip or a snippet in every time, because it's great. But the conversation, the bulk of it is this conversation. And I'm not distracted because I don't know about you, but I tune into some stuff that it's too noisy for me. I'm not actually, and yet I think I've used Joe Rogan as an example. Like this guy will go for 3 hours. I might be riveted for 40 minutes of the drive, just listening, right? I don't need to see or anything like that. But back to you, talk about white papers and posts. I'm an occasional reposter. And so I wanted your opinion about, because I think as you're building your reputation development plan, and if you repost, people that I follow or that I'm connected with on LinkedIn, if I after 5 or 6 reposts, and they're really great, and it could be design, it could be business related, it could be, but it tells me I'm learning something about you, the type of content that you feel is worthy of sharing. Whether you offer to do a 2 or 3 sentence personalization going, which kind of tells me what you get out of it, or if you just straight repost it, you're right. There's an opportunity. So all that to say, if you're not a great writer or you don't see yourself, creating original content as a creator, you're sort of just a resharer.
Yeah.
Would you agree you can still make a statement and contribute to your community by doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as you become more of a person in leadership, like even just a manager and you have 3 direct reports,
Yeah.
you have to be comfortable with sharing your opinion. Like you're giving feedback to people below you, you're guiding them and coaching them. And so if you can do that, then in my opinion, you need to stretch yourself a little bit when creating content as well. Even if you have all these self-doubts about your ability to write or to be on video or whatever it might be, I still think that there's a place for you. And it's more so head trash that you probably need to get over and just start writing a little bit. But yes, if you see a post that you like, that you think is valuable, just clicking repost, in my opinion, is, unless it's just, hey, I'm just doing that because I like the guy and I want him to get more reach. And so I'm going to repost this. And it's just this quick thing I'm doing, that's fine, right? If it's for someone else. But if you're doing it for yourself, you just clicking repost and you saying, oh, wow, I did something on LinkedIn today for myself. You haven't done anything.
No,
you need to really share a message with it. You need to share, what you saw as, point 4 on this article was really critical. And it's something that I'm implementing in a business right now. And here's what we're seeing, right?
Yeah.
Or you can say, hey, I actually disagree with this. The facts are all correct, but my perception's actually this.
Yeah.
Right. You have to give some sort of either value to it, and value doesn't have to be something groundbreaking or like, I've never even thought about that. Really great insight there. It can be something as simple as like, we dealt with this same exact situation in our company 3 years ago, and here's what happened. And just share the story, right? And you've now added value because they can actually apply something from the article to a business they're familiar with, right?
So if you're going to take the leap and create something original, it's an original thought or post or point you want to make. Are there some basic guidelines and protocols of what you do to create something valuable or meaningful?
Yeah. Okay, well, let's make it a real example. So let's think of someone, maybe like their position and company they work at. Why don't you give me an example?
Like a real life person?
Yeah, sure. Or you don't have to give their name, but just what's their
Flash. He's from he's from all right. How about a Bob Nadherney? He's a small business owner in a secondary rural market. He builds exhibits for trade shows and wants to talk about why he's the great source for businesses in the local Poughkeepsie, New York area.
Okay. So small rural market, secondary rural market, and he's a business owner and builds exhibits for, who's his target audience?
He is interested in doing businesses with the businesses in his general city. So he's active in the chamber. He might be a Rotary Club guy. His best bet is to get in front of people. So he's looking for
local people.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. So if he's trying to get on LinkedIn, one, you always have to think about what is the channel's purpose for you, right? So just like you had mentioned, his local chamber might be the best channel for him, and he needs to be the most active he can in that area. Door to door may even be really valuable for him. But let's just say LinkedIn's a channel that he's decided is important for him, right? So the first thing that you want to understand is who your target audience is, right? So who is that target audience? It's really valuable to have your ICPs, your ideal customer profiles, that'll help you like segment who your target audience is. Who are the customers that are going to buy once from me? Who are the customers that are going to buy regularly for me? Who are the, big hitters for me? And then even having an anti-profile. Who are the customers that I hate working with and I don't want to get anymore, right?
Yeah.
And when you segment them like that, you can start to understand which ones are more valuable, what they care about, what matters to them, what are their pain points, what's our unique value proposition to that segment of our ICP. So that's a really great foundational exercise you can do.
That's interesting.
But if you have that done, then you can start to think about what are the pillars of content we can be creating. So I think in general, a pretty good pillar of content for most people is sharing success stories. So when I say a pillar of content, what I mean is it's this topic that you can focus on and you can hit back on time and time again. A lot of times the content can be evergreen, meaning it's not timely. So, it's not centered around an event that happens once a year where we can only post about it once a year, or it's not about a holiday or something like that, but it's something that over and over we can harp on, right? So figure out what your pillars are. Success stories is a really great one. And then typically your pillars will revolve around a few things for your target audience: obstacles they face, challenges they have as they're going through the process while they're trying to achieve some goal, and maybe your solution comes in. The opportunities that are created, right? So it's kind of like the, carrot versus the stick. What is the reward or the opportunity that's out there versus the pain and the challenge, right? So you can have some pillars around that. You can also focus on some sort of, each of your services probably have some sort of value that it really resonates with your customer, and you can make pillars around those services and the value they offer, right? So you can have 3 pillars that you focus on, or you can have 10 pillars, depending on what your business is, how big it is. Ideally, you can focus on just a handful though. And then really every single post that you make, even if you just try this for the first part, focus on those pillars. Everything should fall inside of those pillars. And what you want to do there is you want to break down what are the myths around those pillars, like what are the preconceived stereotypes that people have around it. So I forgot what you said his name was, Bob.
Bob Nadherney.
How did you come up with that name? This isn't a real person.
This is a guy I worked with in college. Yeah. So, and I'd be shocked if I get a call from him on this. So.
Would you be happy about that?
He's in a small town in Maine now, so I'm betting he was wildly successful on the Boston Stock Exchange, but I digress. Right now, he's a small town business exhibit builder in Poughkeepsie, New York. So,
okay, I love it. Okay, so Bob.
Humor my fantasy, please.
I will. Okay. So Bob, let's say that he is, trying to break down the myth that trade shows are dead, right? And so all of his posts are going to be about how trade shows are alive and vibrant, right?
Yeah.
And how they're actually bringing great success to his clients. And so what he's going to focus on is, he's going to tell stories about how, I was talking to Acme Brick, and Acme was like, there's no way we're going to find customers at these trade shows. And I said, you know what, let's try it. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And so we came in on a Wednesday, we went through a consultation, we got everything designed, and then our shop went to work. And here's what we created. This past Friday and Saturday, Acme closed 16 new accounts at this trade show. That's just proof to you that, trade shows are alive and well.
And by the way, I'm assuming what Bob would do is come in. First of all, we'll help you pick the right shows to go to, so the right audience is going to be there and all that stuff. No, this is I like this exercise, Khalil, and I think listeners can follow this if you're thinking about getting into social media posting. I'm assuming you're not doing all of this in one post.
No, and I think that's why it's important to think about it in pillars and also break it down into micro content. Because let's even just take that one example that I just gave, right? You could even just do a post of, I went in to talk to a customer the other day, and they said that they didn't feel like they would get any new business from going to a trade show. I'm curious, how many of you out there have been to a trade show in the last 6 months and received a new client? That's it. And so now you've teased some engagement. You want to get some feedback from people. You could even go on LinkedIn and create a poll for that and have options of like no business, 1 new client, more than 5 new clients, or, whatever. And then there's options and people can vote on it. Right.
No, this is really good. So whether it's Bob we're talking about, or let's broaden this. I'm thinking about any of 100 friends that are consultants in the trade show and business event space So if they're in sales, they're wanting brands out there to discover them on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to be credible enough that they go, this is a person that I would do business with. She's smart. She's knowledgeable. I've clicked on her LinkedIn profile. I see some other articles that she's written. She seems to be of the same mindset we are. So to your point, you're building your reputation development plan there. Are they, how are you, Bob's he's becoming a subject matter expert in that community that he's serving, but somebody who's wanting to play nationally, right?
Sure.
And they go, oh, how do I create a digital footprint or visual evidence that I'm, worthy of a Fortune 500 company that's got the CES show in Las Vegas coming up. And so if I call on them, I guess, are you intentionally creating a footprint that you could point people to go, I'm good at what I do. This is why you should talk to me.
Well, if you're in a consultant role, especially, and salespeople are, especially at B2B, are basically consultants, in my opinion, especially outside sales. What problems do you solve? And just write about that. Like, for any given problem that you're working on for a company, there's probably 100 posts that you could make about that problem.
Yeah.
From all the things that people misconceive about it, to all the obstacles and challenges they face, to success stories that you have about solving that problem. There's also like hot takes you can have that tend to do really well. What's a contrarian opinion that you have that everybody else thinks this about it, but really you approach the problem this way, right?
So can I ask? This is all right in line with what your pillars of content.
Yeah.
I liked what you said. You're building on success stories. You're talking about obstacles faced, challenges that you face, opportunities you discover, an opportunity to lead in maybe some services that are offered. Oh, that's great. I'm going to go back to the beginning of, was it a rant maybe? I'm noticing more personalization in the post.
Yeah.
And so it's the shot.
I think this is one that can be confusing.
Of you in the striking square in Italy when you're over there for the fashion show, or you're speak. And I'm seeing experts, I'm sure smarter than me, talking about you want to humanize, you want things that are going to make you authentic. You want to be likable. You want to be. So how do I find that balance between business? I learned I pronounced the word wrong lately. Bona fides, right? On the bona fides. I get the pillars of content very clear. I'm building up my credibility, but now we're seeing a lot more. This is me with my family, or this is me with my walking my dog, or this is me at the beach doing my thing.
So here's what I would say: rather than one, that's a highlight reel. That's what I call the highlight reel, where you're scrolling through your Facebook or your Instagram and you're just feeling terrible because you haven't gone on vacation in a few months, and all you see is everybody loving their life and on vacation, and they just remodeled their house and it's beautiful, and they got everything's just great. It's the highlight reel. It's the SportsCenter top 10 of their life, right? So you want to avoid that, in my opinion, on LinkedIn. Sure, you're probably going to get a lot of engagement, and there's absolutely things that maybe you do want to share with your professional network, that you achieved some milestone in life, and you're really excited. That's fine. But if you're doing that every week, you're annoying. Everyone is thinking like, really? Like, we're on LinkedIn here. Like, you don't need to post your 17th post about your grandchild on LinkedIn, or, so love that you have a grandchild.
Are you putting your professional brand at risk if you're overexposing that type of thing? Are you saying?
Personally, for me, especially if you don't have anything of value, I don't want to engage with it. No, it's different. If you're posting every single day and you happen to have 4 posts a month that are very personal, I don't think it's in the world.
Or is that a Facebook post or an Instagram post? Is there a different portal that you should?
I think it's a different channel, but I think there's different angles you can approach. If you're on vacation, why not be real? And humanizing it isn't talking about look how wonderful our family is and our life is on the beach. Talk about like, you know, vacation has always been one of the hardest things for me as a professional. How do you balance getting enough work done ahead of time?
And I've got friends that do that. They really, they can tie that into, we're in this crazy warp speed, fast paced industry, and it's hard to find time to turn it off because you're on the ride for so long. And how do you make time to balance and all that stuff?
And so that's a real thing about being on vacation, right? If you wanted to make the vacation post, that's it. I went on vacation last week. It was everything I hoped for, but it also wasn't. I always dread coming back to the office. It's like I need a vacation from the vacation just so that I can get caught up when I'm back in the office. And actually this year I decided to do things different. I took off 8 days for my vacation, and the last 2 days of the vacation, I was at home on my computer at my own pace, catching up, so that when I stepped into the office, first day back from the vacation, I was ready to go. And it actually changed everything because I knew on vacation I could really step away and I could be present with my family without having to worry about the dreaded day coming back from vacation because I had 2 days to transition back, right? So that would be like an example post that you could do, right?
Can I ask, Will?
Yeah.
When you do a post or you're recommending one of your clients, you know, if you're teaching them how to post, before I address a post, should I be thinking about a purpose of that? In other words, this is to establish credibility, or this one is going to be for likability, or this one's going to be authentic. Is that too contrived to be thinking about?
Well, it depends. One, that's why the pillars help. You can, if you're always posting about a pillar in some capacity,
and those can show up
if it's
you
a little bit further removed from the pillar, but it's still a part of the pillar, then the purpose kind of shows up automatically, right? And so that's why it's helpful to have those pillars. And then you can stretch outside of those within reason, but if you're stretching outside of it, it's because you have a different purpose that you're trying to accomplish, right? Yeah. So I think that's important. I think the other thing to think about when you're writing the post is, or in general, what is my account about? What am I about? Am I someone that's going to post 3 times a day, 4 times a day? Okay, well, I don't have to have a singular purpose for every single post. It's okay if I just ask for people's opinion. Hey, any recommendations for SEO vendors out there? Right? And you'll see what you get.
If you've been true to developing, and I'm this way, I don't accept every connection request. And I've been scolded by friends and go, you have a responsibility to accept that connection because you're on that community. And I go, but if this clearly is somebody I know that's wanting to sell me something, and I don't have a connection or I don't have a need, I don't feel obligated. And, you know, I'm a guy with a, I don't know, 2,500 or 3,000 followers or connection. And yet, but I've been real. So my point is, if I did what you just said, hey, does anybody out there have a good SEO?
Your purpose is not around one of your pillars.
I will get some great feedback back because these are truly my people, right? They're not just, you know, random people I connect with who go, oh, I'm assuming they're going to co-sign for somebody.
Yeah. Well, and that's a really good way of, like, they call it engagement farming, where basically you just take some topic, like, you know, there's a lot of SEO vendors out there, right? Or maybe you're talking about, like, does anybody have a good accountant? Because, you know, there's a lot of accountants out there. And then basically everyone's like, yeah, you should check out so-and-so. Hey, here's this. And so then you get all this engagement on your profile, right? And then that increases how much, LinkedIn thinks, man, like, Chris has got some great stuff. Like, people love this. So then they amplify some of your other posts. So there's some other things that, you know, people do with that. But at the end of the day, like, if you're just providing value, post regularly, but post with purpose. Don't just post just to post. Try to add value of some sort. And I think here's another one that people miss. You know, I'm going to go back to what you talked about with the podcast. If anyone was listening to this full episode and they listened to the very beginning, there's a highlights probably of me talking, because I'm doing a lot of the talking here, of just like sound bites. And really that's the hook. The reason we do that is because we want to tease you about what the episode's going to be so that you'll come in and watch the full episode because you feel like
best moments up front. So you get
exactly.
Yeah.
It's that promise at the front end, and then we want to fulfill that promise.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
It's the questions that we pose at the front, and you hope that we'll get those. You'll get the answers. The same thing should happen with your LinkedIn posts. It's the hook. It's what's going to get people to read the next sentence. And that as you write, you just want to write to where people want to read the next sentence. And it's important that your formatting is a little bit different. If you're writing in, what is it called? What is it called in college? The APA format? I can't remember, but you have those writing formats that you have to follow in college where it's double spaced and it's, indented paragraphs, all that stuff. If you're writing like that on LinkedIn, you're probably not going to get a lot of engagement. You need to write very short, choppy sentences. You need to break it down by line. I always recommend writing by line, not by sentence. So basically, if you're writing on LinkedIn and you see that your sentence drops down to the next line, it means that your sentence is too long probably. And occasionally you can have some of those longer sentences in there, but try to be a little bit choppier, short sentences, short paragraphs. And then from there, make sure that your first 2 lines really get people, oh, wow, what is he going to talk about? Or, oh, what's the answer? Man, that seems interesting. So that they click to see more, they can see the whole post, right?
I find effective. So when somebody's posting, whether it's a personal anecdote with a business tie-in, they finish the post with the question saying, you kind of did this earlier in the podcast. How many of you have ever experienced, I've gone to a trade show and never gotten even one good lead? Or how many, in other words, you end your post with a question designed to hopefully
bring an engagement,
stimulate engagement.
Yeah.
Is that a good tactic, or is that just?
It is. It is. And I think some people bury the lead there. I think they have this
I've seen that
long post and they put the question at the very bottom when you could lead with the question, or you could just post the question.
Yeah.
Right. Like don't overdo it. I think too many people also write way too formally, like it's a business professional setting. And reality is, yeah, you might be in B2B, but everyone's a person. Everyone's a C at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And so you want to talk to people. You don't want to talk to companies.
Yeah.
So talk like you're talking to people, right? Like you actually
Isn't
talk.
that why maybe we're seeing, after however many years and now 1 billion members of LinkedIn, we've moved beyond just the standard, here's my product in use and a pretty picture of it in use. And now we're moving into humanizing the people behind that business relationship.
Yeah.
Whether it be, here I am at the national conference in Orlando, and it's at a hotel with your colleagues, and then it's at the convention, and then there's a picture on the golf course and around the pool with a few people. The point is, I'm so sick to death in my industry of 100 posts a day with a pretty picture of an exhibit. Aren't we all pretty good at building something? And that, you know what? I get it. If you're proud of that thing that you just spent.
Yeah. If you're posting that once a quarter or something like that, it's not terrible. But if it's every day.
But what really cuts through the noise and the clutter for me is something fresh and different.
Yeah.
And I think I want to believe that that's kind of behind the personalization, the picture that what I'm beginning to see more of.
Well, it's always good to show a picture, to show a video, to use a GIF. I think one of the best things you can do, especially if you're like in a niche industry like trade shows, is taking memes and making them applicable to like your industry specifically. I'll give you an example of one. So I don't know if you got to watch The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, the documentary on Netflix and ESPN.
Many times, I repeatedly watched it over and over.
Okay. So there's this one scene where it's with Dennis Rodman. And obviously we know Dennis Rodman's a character, but he's being interviewed. And he used to rebound for his teammates for like hours. Like he would go to their shooting practices and he would just rebound the whole time. And what he was really doing was he was studying how the ball bounced off the rim for different people based upon how they shot it and the spin on the ball and all this kind of stuff. And so he knew where to put himself on the floor based upon who was shooting and what the likelihood of where the ball was going to go and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the interview, he's describing that, and he's talking about it bounced this way and then it clicks off the rim and I go there, and then he's just using his hands and he's talking about where the ball will go like this, and it's like 15 seconds of him talking. And if you're just watching the clip, you're like, what are you talking about, right? And someone, a lot of people have taken that meme and say, me listening to the guy demonstrate how to use Salesforce, right?
Right.
And immediately it resonates with you, like,
all you're seeing is the tomahawk chop.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
So you could take that and you can make a post about, me explaining how, B matrix works or something like that. Right.
Yeah.
And then it's specific. And now everybody who knows B matrix is like laughing because like, yes, like I know exactly what you're talking about, or like some industry specific software. And now the value that you've added is that you've helped people to feel understood and to laugh about something that frustrates them in their industry or something that they find funny or that clients never understand this, right? And so that's a way that you've added value and you've been able to develop a connection with other people in your industry. So that's another, I think too often we think about value being something that is specific to the value that you can offer someone. But I think value can come in the form of connections. It can come in the form of people feeling understood, right?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be something groundbreaking. It just has to be, here's an uncomfortable truth that we have in the industry. Here's the elephant in the room for our industry. Here's the things that we hate about our industry. Here's the things that need to be improved in our industry. And people will resonate with that.
These are great things. I have a final question I want to ask you, but yeah. I like a lot. So the things I'm taking away today, you're either a creator or a consumer, and most of us are both. But if you're more of one, you should try at least to be some of the other. Optimizing the content for the channel, man, that's a great thing. And I'm not on a lot of different social medias, although I'm on a few, and I really do think about that in the right content for the right channel. And I like your word better, optimizing it. Pillars of content. I like introducing myself, or I think thinking people should do that through what we're calling the pillars of the content. And success stories are a great way, and you gave some great examples. So here's a final thought. Have you ever seen somebody who consistently commits, social posting suicide? Like what are the things? Just don't do this. Oh, or stay away from this. Is there anything glaring that you can think of where you just go, this is a swing and a miss every time? How do you want to try and stay away from that?
Yeah. I mean, I think being way too formal, like treating your personal page like a company page is a really it's not suicide. I think that might be overkill, but it's definitely not resonating. I think also just taking something, copying and pasting it. I think a big one right now is copying and pasting AI. I'm not saying don't use AI to create content. I think there's a lot of value in using AI to brainstorm ideas, using AI to give you a different perspective on something, to even give you a good format.
It's funny, you say that, because I try to be pretty thoughtful on posts that I'm writing, and I really am not. I've never done an AI post, but somebody commented on something that I thought was pretty great, and they go, "Oh, this is the perfect AI post," and I go, "What does that mean?" And then I think they thought I just mailed it in by just putting an AI and then posting.
Yeah, it's tough.
But I now know what that sounds and looks like. If something sounds almost too good or word salady or whatever
Yeah, people are pretty good about understanding when something's AI or not. And it's especially hard when,
right? They recognize fake.
They do. And I think at a certain level, there's things that you can get away with AI. But for sure, one thing is right now, I think one of the worst features LinkedIn came out with was you can comment by just clicking a button and it'll generate an AI comment for you. And so you can just go around leaving AI comments on all these posts.
Yeah.
And they're awful. And I just think that's one way to commit like kind of the suicide on social media of no one wants to engage with you. Everyone thinks it's baloney and it just doesn't look good. So I think worse than not engaging is false engaging. So don't just copy and paste from ChatGPT. It's not a good look. I think, before we were starting recording, I was looking at my phone. Are you mainly on your phone when you get on LinkedIn?
Yeah, at least 50%, maybe more than 50% of the time. That's the device. I've got I've got the larger phone. Instead of carrying a tablet, I'll carry that. But I'm still quite a bit on
LinkedIn fairly recently, and I think it's rolled out to everybody at this point.
I'm on one of these
or the tablets. So at least on the mobile, I'm not sure on the tablet, but I believe they've rolled it out to everybody. I'm not positive on this. At the bottom, you have your icons of like home, network, notifications. Yes. They've included the tab for video now.
Right.
So it's essentially basically like LinkedIn professional TikTok, if you will. And so now you essentially have this professional TikTok where really the floodgates are kind of open. It's LinkedIn's still one of the very few platforms that's being posted on regularly. And there's so much opportunity there where Instagram's overcrowded, Twitter's overcrowded. Not saying that you can't grow on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, but LinkedIn is definitely wide open, especially with the introduction of this video. So if you're interested in creating videos, that is a really great place to be posting, and you'll immediately see an uptick in impressions and engagement. If you will go and just post videos just how you would normally make a post, just post the video and it'll end up in that TikTok side. And if it's in the right format, meaning I think it's 16 by 9 or 9 by 16, whatever your dimensions are, 16 tall, 9 wide, you will show up even more prevalent inside of there. So
this is really good. Subject today's been the best way to use LinkedIn for business purposes. And I learned a couple things. I thought, I was thinking, two-dimensionally on LinkedIn, and you reminded me, some people are on there to build community and strengthen relationships. And this isn't just, don't be too formal, right? There are ways, and yet, man, you better optimize for that particular channel. Know the audience that's on there. They don't want to see your, 52 family vacation slides, right? If you're going to tie a personal image or story to a business purpose, then do a good job doing that. And
Chris, you do a great job of this. You really do a great job of this. I think everybody that's listening maybe has probably seen your LinkedIn posts, and you do a great job of making it timely. You just did a post with a video of you in the back of your GMC Tahoe or Denali, whatever it is.
Yeah, I remember.
Yes, the Sandbag Express. And because for the hurricane, and I think and it was applicable to the professional life. Hey, I'm missing out on this golf tournament.
Yeah,
where we raise money.
My apology for missing a favorite industry event, and that's what.
And what I also love, it's timely, but even the stuff that you did on Capitol Hill, it had a implication to the industry, right? And it was humanized because you were willing to just pop open your phone and start recording. Yeah. And I think that's probably what most listeners need to hear and to start with, like use you as an example for creating video and getting started. Make it timely, make it relevant, share value, share insight, and just be a part of the industry.
There's a certain freedom in not being worried about embarrassing yourself when you but you're right. I think whether it's you or someone else taught me long ago, the internet rewards authenticity, right? So it's okay to be a little unpolished and sort of to Forrest Gump your way through something. But no, this is I'm hoping. Thank you for switching roles with me and letting me.
This is fun.
And I think there's a couple of good nuggets in this one for our listeners to take. If you're a regular LinkedIn poster, hopefully there's a couple of things you get out of this to enhance. If you are thinking about throwing your hat in the ring, I hope this gives you the courage to do that. As always, you can hit up Khalil or me on LinkedIn if you want to privately talk a little bit about that. And there'll be some good stuff in the notes on the full episode. Thanks for making the time, man. I always enjoy it. This. So
thank you, Chris.
See you on the next one.
See you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Experience Builders Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great content. Visit our website at crewxp.com to learn more about us. See you in the next one.